Greetings YouTube adventurers. Yes, basically I'm Stiggy from the Guitar Loft. Just going to do a bit of a video here on truss rod adjustment. Ooh, dreaded truss rod. Going to actually pull out some paper. Ooh, paper. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's quite a simple thing to do. Just go easy, go steady. That's all. So let's crack on with it, shall we? Nice one. Okay guys, so in short, when it comes to your neck, there are 4 ways you could possibly find it, and only one of them is correct, and I'm going to attempt to show you why. Please excuse the rather craft drawing. I haven't actually got a whiteboard, but I shall do my best with what we've got. So, the first one that we actually have is, you might see it as a banana. I've exaggerated it slightly here. And that's basically called concaved. Now, if your neck's concaved, what you're going to actually find is, don't forget your strings put tension on your neck as well. So if your neck's already concaved badly, when the string tension goes on, it's going to go up even further. Okay, so what you're going to tend to get from your bridge point here to your nut point here, just exaggerate it a little bit, you're going to have a massive action like that. So that's wrong. Okay, so if you look down the side of the neck and you've got pretty low up here, basically low here, and then a huge action like that, then that's wrong. Okay, and that's called concaved. Remember, way to remember that is if you go in like that. Okay, that's like a cave. Yeah. The next way that you can find it is it could be convexed, which means it goes the opposite way, like this. And obviously, if the strings are like that, well, let's just draw a straight line, shall we? You're going to get a lot of fretting issues around here and around here, because that's where the lump is. A flat neck can be just as bad, okay, completely flat, because, you know, if you adjust here, and then you can jack it all the way up on a flat neck, but then your strings are going down, so 9 times out of 10, by the time they hit your nut up here, they're going to be fretting out somewhere, probably around the first 4 or 5 frets up here. So that's a bad thing. A lot of people are scared of the truss rod, but if you go slow and easy, it's not like a wing nut that you can spin and spin and spin and spin. You know, you do it increments at a time. So flat, that's wrong, that's wrong, and that's wrong. Basically what you actually want is what's known as a neck relief or a bow, and all that does is basically you adjust your truss rod when your guitar's in concert pitch to a slight lift at the end, and what that basically does is it gives you a nice gap between the strings here. And a way to test that, which I'll show you now on several of the guitars before we actually show you how to adjust it, and that basically what that does is it gives you a nice, I'm exaggerating this obviously, by the time you get to your bridge, yeah? So when you fret here and you fret here, you're going to have a nice bit of a gap between your strings and your frets. Don't forget a thing to remember, your strings, you know, when you strum them, they rotate like this, okay? So you've got to have room to do that. If you have an action that's too low, I mean, if you're a shredder, then some people do like low action, but you've got to leave room for it to move and for it to rotate. And strings do this, yeah, believe it or not, and they do this if you look at them in slow motion. And you've got to have room for that to happen. If it doesn't, you're going to get fret buzz, stuff like that. So I'm going to show you a way that you can do it nice and easy, and there we go. Okay guys, so first bit here, so working on the Les Paul here. If you've got a capo, great. If you haven't, then I'm afraid you're just going to have to do it a bit ham-fisted and use these babies. Okay, so what you want to do, put capo on your first fret, all the way up here, and you want to fret your very last fret. Okay, Now, I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show you how to do it because that's fretting there, that's fretting there, and what you're basically checking for is relief, neck relief. So if you've got neck relief, then you just leave it alone. You don't need to touch it. But what you basically want to do is fret there, right, and then around this area here, right, from the 6th onwards, what you want to do is you want to be able to feel a little bit of movement. Now, there are feeler gauges that you can use from cars, or there are other things that you can do, but you basically, what you want is this. This is off a D'Addario's packet. You can also use a medium plectrum, and if you put that underneath your fret, on top of your fret, it should slide in nicely. There shouldn't actually be any resistance whatsoever. And also you can just tap it, you know, so if you hear it ringing truly and nicely, then you're fine. That's all good. Obviously, you know, this is entirely up to you, but this is the way to do it. One on there, put your capo on there, or fret it from there, like this. Use your other hand, because I'm holding the camera. Fret the last one, and just tap. If you've got enough, then you're happy, right? If you're unsure and you want a gauge or a reference, use a piece of cardboard, something like that. Things like off a pill packet, like a packet of painkillers or something, is fine. That's off a D'Addario packet. Or, like I said, something that you always have in your pocket as a guitar player anyway, a medium plectrum. If you're doing a bass guitar, then the best way to do it is do exactly the same principle, only use a credit card, and that is actually a perfect underneath there. Okay? So in a nutshell, what we've done, we've determined whether the guitar has or hasn't got any neck relief. Okay, so it could be up here and your action could be huge, or it could be back there and it could be fretting out somewhere in the middle. Alright? Like I said, this isn't a wing nut in here. You know, you need to, you know, go steady and go easy. And basically all the truss rod is doing, as your strings pull your guitar neck up, because as they get tight, there's a lot of tension in these things, right? It will pull your guitar neck up. So when you tighten the truss rod, what it's actually doing is counteracting that, and it's going to bring your neck back down again. Alright? Now, if you've got a flat neck, alright, if you've got a flat neck like this, when you loosen the truss rod, right, it's going to let the strings pull it up just that little tiny bit, right, and that's what you want. So if you've got a completely flat neck and it's fretting out around here, what you want to do is kind of just loosen it off, and then just a little bit at a time, quarter turn at a time, check it, leave it for a bit, check it again. If you need to do it, loosen it a little tiny bit more, and what that'll do, when you string it, but when you tune it back up again, the strings will do it themselves. It will bring the neck up like this, and that's actually what you want. Okay, so when you look down the neck like this, right, when you want it just slightly up at the end, and then just keep checking it with your cardboard, with your plectrum, if it's a bass, with your credit card, something like that. So that's basically it, you know, just go easy, go steady. Sometimes what you'll find is if it's a newish guitar, it might, or an old guitar, sometimes it varies, it might be a bit stiff. Okay, so what I tend to find is if you tighten it slightly first and then loosen it, or vice versa, if what you want to do, you just have to wiggle it slightly. I mean, don't just start going like this, because if you snap it, you're screwed. Alright? If you try it and you spray a tiny bit of penetrating fluid in there and it still doesn't work, then I'm afraid it's going to be off to a luthier. Because sometimes they can get stuck, they can get broken, they can get threaded, but that is a big job. Okay, so just go easy. So like I said, if we're tightening it on something like this, off we go, we're tightening it, and as we basically tighten like I said. Yeah, it's going to counteract those strings, it's going to bring it down a little bit. If we loosen it, it's going to let the strings do some of the tension, it's going to bring it back up again. And that's it. Sometimes you have to do this, right, if you're going from, say, 9s guitar strings to 10s guitar strings or to higher, you know, just check it. But tune it, check the way that I've showed you. If you're happy, then away you go. But go easy, you can't break it. You know, you could always take it to a shop afterwards if anything does go horrifically wrong or you get stuck. So that's it, guys. Done. Dusted. See you soon.